What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to their day so far. We're here with a very special guest, Miami Hurricane 2001 national champion and former NFL player, Martin Bibla. Martin, thank you so much for taking time of your night, man, joining the scoop. We're extremely grateful for this opportunity.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Martin. And, you know, hey, we just played the Alabama Crimson Tide. It is what it is. College football is back. If you're a fan of football, you got to love the passion and energy. Martin, how excited were you to see the Canes back on the field for the first time in 2021?
Super excited, man. I threw a house party. It was big opener against Alabama. You can't ask for a more primetime game than that.
Absolutely, man. Nick Saban, Bill O'Brien. You got Coach Marone, Mike Gillespie, former UNC running backs coach, all-star cast against the Miami Hurricanes. Martin, initial thoughts. I understand you're at a party. You didn't get to see the entire game. What do you think about our personnel unit, offensive line wise? First team. Any players that stood out under the direction of Coach Garen Justice?
Like I said a little bit earlier when we were just talking, I didn't get a really chance to really look into the who's who on the offensive line. I know, as you know, we gave Derek King some time to make some passes. I know Restrepo came with a beautiful touchdown pass. So that's encouraging. We're giving him time to throw and connect with our receivers. So the first half, like I said, it's a difficult thing to manage playing against Alabama, but we had all this time to prepare all summer. I think we could have had a little better showing than we did, but I think the rest of the schedule is very doable and very winnable for the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you happen to see Evan Neal on Alabama's offensive line? That guy is a monster, freak
Yeah,
athlete.
yeah, I did. I saw some clips on Instagram. I saw some of the action during the game. That guy's a superstar.
No doubt about it, man.
Yeah, gotta give some O line respect, even though it's on the opposing side.
Absolutely.
Martin, when you see the Canes offensive line and you see the Bama offensive line, what are the first things that stand out to you in comparison?
I think we're both big on both sides of the ball. Their line is gigantic and athletic, and I think we're gigantic and athletic. It's such a difference from when I played in 2001. Coming in '97, we didn't recruit giants. Height and size and weight are such a big factor in recruiting these days. Back then I was 6'3", 285, 290 pounds. Brett was similar in size and weight, 280, 285. Joaquin was tall and skinny. He was, 6'5" and 270 pounds. Brian McKinney was an anomaly. He is a giant. And then Sherko Haji was also tall, but not overly heavy. He was like 310, 315. I mean, so the size difference nowadays, especially on the offensive line for Miami currently, is tremendously different.
Do you notice a big difference in athleticism on offensive lines now compared to when you played, or does it seem somewhat similar?
I think it's, we always pride ourselves on being athletic. When I played, we actually ran the ladder drills better than some of our linebackers and receivers. And you can ask anybody that from the old staff. We took pride in our dancing barefoot work. These days, I don't know. I think there's a lot of preaching and just sheer girth and manpower versus the athletic, nimble, fast, and healthy lineman. So, I mean, I don't know what school you're from. I believe in quickness kills and agility kills. So, it depends on what side of this fence you're on.
Hey, Martin, I want to go back to your high school career. You were very talented at the defensive tackle position, correct?
Some may say. My first Coach Art Kehoe, back in the day was after he introduced himself, he says, I hate you on defense. And then he went in on his offensive spiel. So those are very kind words you have.
How was that transition, playing defensive tackle at the high school level, then transitioning to right guard for, at one of the blue bloods of college football?
It wasn't that difficult. I always had a mindset of no one's going to be better than me. No one's going to outwork me. No one's going to put the grind in like I'm going to put the grind in. That was instilled from an early age from my older brother, and kind of the First generation European bloodline that I kind of have. So playing D tackle in high school and then not playing defense in college was a relief. I can concentrate and really hone in on my offensive line skills.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of walk me through that recruiting process. I know like Art Kehoe, I'm sure he was a part of it. Was Art Kehoe your primary recruiter? Who did you speak to? Because you're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And, being from, the Northeast, I don't know if Miami clicks as much to players from the Northeast compared to South Florida, state of Florida, closer in a distance. I feel like Penn State's probably the primary school everybody wants to play for. So how did that happen with Miami?
Literally, like my final year, Miami's a perfect storm for me. I was heavily recruited as a blue chipper. I was originally committed to the University of Pitt. They went through a coaching change.
Oh, wow.
We had some people come in at the high school and kind of probe, see where I was going, and see if I was firm in my decision. Then Art Kehoe appeared out of nowhere and decided to take a really deep look into me, as well as Larry Coker at the time. I remember Larry and Art both being in my house in my living room and talking to my parents. So it was literally a perfect storm. It was just luck. And the funny thing is that I was so anti my area just because I wanted to do something different. I wanted to go against the grain. I was always kind of built that way. I didn't want to do anything what everybody else had or seen. I wanted to explore my own kind of, take the path less taken. And then with Miami being the furthest south I could go from my hometown, it was exactly what I needed.
Martin, you mentioned that you were committed to Pitt. What were some of the schools that were other schools heavily involved in your recruitment?
I was heavily recruited by Maryland, Rutgers, Syracuse, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, kind of like the Northeast schools, the Big East schools, when we were still back in that conference. When I met Joe Pa from Penn State back in 96, I want to say, he actually didn't extend his hand to shake mine and told me I was too small to play O-line there. So that kind of confirmed my decision of not ever playing for Penn State and then wanting to do something different.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't
right?
like Penn State. That just reconfirmed it.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
No, I can go on a rant about Penn State football, Joe Paterno, and the whole situation there, but we're here with Martin Bibla, man. We got to talk Canes football, not talk about trash. Martin, you come to Miami. Butch Davis is your head coach. You got an all-star cast. I'm sure Shiano's down there. You even mentioned Larry Coker. Probably Curtis Johnson's the wide receiver coach.
Yep.
I mean, this star-studded coaching staff. Did it hit you at first like, hey, man, like this is the best of the best? Like this competition's elite? Or, was it an easy transition for you?
I came in prepared to give it my best shot. I remember sitting next to Joaquin, our offensive line meeting, and being surrounded by strangers for that first 2 weeks of camp. And we made a pact just to outwork the competition no matter what it was. And also, we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know we had an all-star crew of coaches and players that came in as our freshman class and developing players that were just, a year ahead of us. Because that first year, I think we went 5-6, I believe. It was 97. And so again, we had some rough times there in the beginning, and it was up to us to kind of turn the page in Miami football and get back to what worked in the early 90s and late 80s.
Absolutely. And, during that time, who was your mentor? I know you previously mentioned Art Kehoe. Maybe there was a coach or a player that you really looked up to as a leader and a role model.
Yeah, my high school coach, Jim McGovern, was a big mentor in my life, as well as my older brother, Tom. My brother Tom basically turned me into the meathead and the goal-driven monster that I later became through college. But also with my coach, from somebody outside the family, was a big part of my life. He always was on my side and was able to lift me up if other people didn't have my back. Just like any high school athlete, there's going to be, for every positive, there's 10 negative behind that are coming with something that are telling you that you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you'll never make it down south. So he was always somebody that says, don't listen to the negative, you'll outwork the competition. So he was an important, positive role model in my life.
Martin, You're a true freshman. You're getting to a place like Miami. What is the first differences that you really noticed between Miami college football and high school football where you came from?
You're playing with men. These are grown men from a multitude of backgrounds, and the small town living in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania, as good as it was, it polluted, and you are not ready for the type of atmosphere you walk into that locker room, into that city. So automatically, I mean, you could say the heat, you could say the weather, but it's really the caliber of athlete that you walk into, and you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
What was it like for you in the weight room that first year? What did any hard knocks you went through or anything like that?
I'm a big time believer in putting in what you get out of it. So hard work was never a question. So when I had a chance to be in the weight room, again, I rode my brother's coattails in the fact of I need to be able to outwork these people. I need to eat and breathe the weight room. School's one thing that's separate. When you wake up for 5:30, be in the weight room for 6 o'clock in the morning, your coach's pet in that weight room. Ask for anything you could do extra. Is there protein shakes available? Can you take them home with you? How many protein shakes can you take a day? It was you have to function like a machine. You're there to get bigger and stronger and faster. And obviously the goal is to get on the field.
Martin you came in an interesting time. It was, early on, the Butch Davis era, and then you transitioned to Larry Coker's first year. I believe that was your last year at Miami when you won the national title. How was that transition phase? And did you realize as a player, hey, we're slowly getting better to the greatest college football team of all time?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, the writing was on the wall. I mean, you saw after that first year what that freshman class was bringing to the table. I think over 90% of them were starting as freshmen. So we kind of understood what was going on. And then we knew collectively as a team, the closer we bond, the closer we are together, the more that we have that team camaraderie, it was going to be an unstoppable machine. And with Butch making his decision, I believe that was 99 or 98. I forget what year it is now. But when he made his decision, it's a business decision. So we knew when we approached the AD, if we kept this thing on the tracks and kept the coaching the same, it was written we were going to win. So we believed for a long time we should have won that championship or been in it in 2000.
Yeah,
we won in 2001, and then we got robbed in 2002. So I mean, we knew what we had.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of national championship teams, when I interviewed Brian McKinney, he told me you guys bonded a lot. It was, during the offseason, he took Joaquin Gonzalez and a couple other players back home to New Jersey, where he's from. What created that 01 team? Was it bonding? What created that bond within the football program, or was it?
I believe just the open mental atmosphere of just being each other's friend, not just on the field or in the locker room. We were beyond that. Between Brian's, visiting him in New Jersey, being at Joaquin's house for family dinners, we traveled heavy when we were going somewhere. Because we just enjoyed each other's company. The dynamic was unlike anything I've ever seen, and people often ask, like, how is that possible? It's not just one or two, three different things. It's a multitude of different things that brought us closer. I mean, we not only that, we had the staff that encouraged it so much that they almost wanted to be a part of it. Obviously, they couldn't because they're coaches, but we'd have our weight room staffs. Andrew Swayze, he turned the lights off after our lifting group, and we'd all sit there and meditate for 20 minutes, thinking about, what makes us better? What can you do better as a player, and dream yourself into a reality of what you want to become. And, it's just everything.
Absolutely. No, I love that. That's what creates national title teams. And, it's great hearing it from former players who lived it, because you guys are going to know more than anyone else. So, outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Martin, in 2000, your junior season, You guys ended up playing Florida in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. What was the experience like going to the Sugar Bowl versus an in-state rival? And you guys played really well.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, the atmosphere of Louisiana and the Sugar Bowl and the fight before the game. I actually missed that fight. I regret that. I'd rather have been in that scuffle than losing my money elsewhere. But an in-state rival like Florida, the Gators, we played the Seminoles. We want to be, for me, it was fun to be able to play the Gators and just, be the in-state champ. And it was just neat. You don't get to play those kind of teams too often in the schedule. However the schedule permits, it's just neat to play another Florida school in a powerhouse like Florida.
What season did you really start to feel comfortable in your abilities in college? When did you really start to build that confidence and say, hey, I can really do this?
I would say halfway through my second year there, when I was starting alongside Joaquin, my redshirt freshman year in '98. Halfway through the season, we kind of realized, but I did too, that whatever I'm doing in practice is going to dictate how I become a player. So when I'm going against Damian Lewis and I'm going against some of these guys on defense, Dan Morgan, Nate Webster, if I'm holding my own or if I'm kicking their ass, these are first round draft picks I'm doing against.
Yep.
These are second round draft picks I'm doing against. And if I'm kicking ass, what does that make me? You know what I mean? So I always, I had these conversations with my friends back home and my family. Like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I will naturally get better. And with time goes on, I will get drafted based on the performance of just practice. I mean, it's funny. I had this conversation. I'm sure Alabama players feel the same way, or LSU players. I mean, when good versus good happens on a goal line scrimmage and you're holding your own, or vice versa, it's 50-50. You're doing well because this is top tier talent.
Yeah, I feel like, that's kind of where Alabama's at right now in the stage. And a lot of, maybe your Georgias, your Clemsons, Ohio States, where you're facing all this tremendous talent. And that's how you get better because, like former players have always stated, like yourself, I'm sure practice was harder than the games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. The week was brutal.
Yeah.
I remember when Vince Wilfork came fresh off the bus from wherever the hell he came from, beat me on a goal line stunt on the 2-yard line in practice, tackled Clinton Portis for a loss. And I'm like, what the frick just happened? I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, he looks out of shape. He looks fat and portly. I'm like, Vince is a great dude, but he's a hell of a player as time showed you. But so I, when you go against that type of competition, you cannot get better.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And Martin, if you were to talk to, I was asked this question, to players, but it was before Alabama. If you were to talk to the team after their loss to Alabama, before they take on App State, what would you tell them? Just, from a player to another player that bleeds orange and green.
It's a 1-game season. Every week is different. You can't think about what you did last week. You can't think about what you're going to do the week after the next one. It's a 1-game season. You've got to work and perfect your craft. Absolutely. Study the crap out of film, and just put in the best effort that you can that week. So when you do play the game, like you said, it becomes easy. The hay's in the barn. You could do it in your sleep. So I think studying the week's film and just preparing for a 1-game season every week, you'll be all right.
Martin, what was the draft process like for you? And in the end, did you end up getting drafted by a team that you expected, or did the Falcons kind of surprise you a little?
No, they surprised me. The draft process is stressful, just like it is for anybody, unless you're going top 5. I'm sure you've got different stress factors. But the funny thing is, I was told by my agent that I was going to go on the first day back when it was Friday, Saturday draft. Or Saturday, Sunday, I should say. I was going a 3rd round 9 to the Dolphins. I thought that was cool. I was going to play in a city that I played college football in. And then that didn't happen. The next morning, the 4th round comes on, and I'm getting random phone calls. I'm like, dude, you don't know that the draft's going on. I'm expecting a phone call. Stop bothering me, from random friends. So then Atlanta traded up to get me in a 4th round.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that, because usually they call you beforehand. And based on their dealings, I got a phone call after the fact, and I happened to miss my name on the draft board. So I caught the last 3 letters of my name, and I thought I was going to Denver because that was the next team drafting. So for a split second, I'm throwing my hands up. I'm going to Denver. Next thing I get a call, and Stan Reeves from Atlanta. I'm like, I'm going to Atlanta. So it was very confusing and exciting. And I almost congratulated the wrong team coach. So I mean, it's nuts.
What was that first season like for you in the NFL? You know, we talked about the difference between high school and college. What's the difference between college and the NFL?
Super stressful for me. Super stressful. Obviously, you're no longer playing a game for fun. You're playing for money. They expect things a little differently. They treat you very differently, and they stress you the hell out. That's the biggest part of it, is the stress factor. Because at that point, you have some superstars, but you're all able-bodied men to handle other like people. You know,
Yeah.
As they say, they're getting paid too, so they're allowed to win a few, just as you're allowed to beat them a few times. But then within that first week, I was the starting left guard in camp, and then within a week, our first team center went down. Our second team center moved up, and I had to take over second team center roles. And I'd never played center before. They woke me up in my room at 1:30 in the morning and said, "Hey, Bibbs, get ready. You're playing center tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I've never played center before." I didn't even have to take a snap in Miami at center at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God. So stressful, always stressful.
Hey, Martin, moving away from the NFL, your time there, want to go back to the regular season now. Any improvements that you want to see from this team moving forward? It could be just in general, defense, offense, tackling. I mean, whatever, being more discipline.
Yeah, I think the basics, man. I mean, we run the ball. We run the ball, set up the pass. I mean, that's football 101, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's – you're not going to reinvent anything with how the game is played. I think these players need to stay excited and stay into the game and make sure they study the film. It's all on film, man. It's the more you study, the more you're prepared for the game. I mean, ability is ability, but if you could see these moves coming in your sleep, you're gonna be better prepared.
Absolutely. And do you miss the old pro style, or are you a fan now of kind of the RPO offense we're running, more spread?
I like that old gritty football. Just power pull the guard, smash face football. That's the game has gotten soft, and I'd like to see more of that, just in your face kind of mentality.
Gotta love it, man. Could you imagine you were playing O-line with a guy like De'Ara King? Like, how different would that be in your perspective compared to like a Ken Dorsey?
I couldn't even imagine. Ken's my boy. I can't even go against my boy Ken. I kept no sacks in college, so I kept my boy clean. You just sit back there and pick him apart with the receiving talent pool that we had. Can't imagine. I wouldn't have it a different way.
Martin, if you could tell high school recruits right now, high school offensive line recruits, one thing right now about what the most important thing they can do to develop or learn before they get to college, what would that be?
It's a couple things. It's nutrition, it's practice, and preparation. So by that I mean, obviously nutrition takes care of itself. You got to eat big to get big. And then some of these guys are coming in overweight and they're too big, but I almost clean, but perfect your craft. I coach high school football now. There are a lot of kids that just want to go through the motions, and they want to talk shit and go through the motions and wish for the best. It ain't about wishing. It's time put in. It's the grind. It's going over extra reps on boards, the footwork, the pass blocking, shooting the hands. It's getting with another guy and working that out. These kids these days don't want to put that grind in, and the ones that do are definitely a lot better than the ones that don't. So, I mean, if you've got your heart set on going to the next level to college, you've got to put time in by practicing your craft more than just 3 days a week and then having a walkthrough and a game day. It continues all season long. It continues throughout the off season with weights and nutrition, man. Like I have 3 boys now out of my 5 at home that I put on 50 pounds on my older 2 that are hard gainers within 18 months, and they've become the strongest on the team. One's a starting freshman and one's a starting junior, all based on the grind. If you don't know anything different, then that's status quo. That grind is your everyday. And I'm a big believer in not working that competition. So when that's your life and it's every day, there's no stopping you.
I think, what you first said was exactly what Eric Winston told me. Don't put on bad weight. Come in fairly lean. Be strong and not like just, put on those pounds from like just unnecessary, Exactly. And that's exactly what he said. I thought it was interesting. You guys both nailed it. And you guys are both former NFL players that were stars at Miami. And like Sheldon Allen said, does Ken Dorsey still send you thank you cards?
Yeah. Once in a while it does. We send thank you text messages. I bug him for stuff too. I'm like, hey, Ken, buddy, I kept you clean. How about you send me a pair of gloves for one of the boys to
Oh, man. Hey, last question, Martin, then we'll let you go. Thank you again for your time. What's your score prediction for the App State game?
I don't know. I hate giving a score because I'm never right. We're going to come back with vengeance. It's good. We're going to be at least 3-4 touchdowns up. We got to be. It's got to be.
It's better than my prediction. So, hey, that's all that counts.
We're gonna pick them apart. We have to come back strong, and we're gonna rebound off of this. Like I said, the rest of the schedule is very winnable. We got the the wolf out of the way, and we'll go prey on the sheep now.
Yep, gotta love it, man. Martin Bibla, national champion, 0-1 team, former NFL player. This is the realest it's gonna get when you're talking, football knowledge and about being a Miami Hurricane, because Martin bleeds orange and green. We appreciate your time again, Martin.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure.